One of the most outspoken figures in the Me Too movement, Argento, was being accused of being a predator herself.
Supplying 17-year-old former child actor Jimmy Bennett with alcohol and having with him.
She was 37.
Argento denied a minor.
The legal age for consent in California is 18.
Told a friend via text that she did, in fact, have with then 17-year-old actor Jimmy Bennett.
Anthony Bourdain's ex-girlfriend, Argento, is problematic. She was one of the first people to speak out against Harvey Weinstein in the Me Too movement. But it turns out she's a complete hypocrite. Not only is she a predator herself, but she's had her own scandal with a 17-year-old boy. So let's get into it. There's nothing more that I hate than a hypocrite, and today we need to talk about actress Argento. So let's talk about Asia and how we got here, because recently I made a video about Anthony Bourdain, and if you know his story, he had taken his own life, and right before that, he was arguing with his girlfriend Asia over her cheating on him at a popular restaurant they would frequent. Now, as I was doing research on them, I came across this story and I was really taken back because this actress had an inappropriate or allegedly an inappropriate relationship with a minor. Yet she's one of the most outspoken figures in the Me Too movement. I mean, this photo alone is disturbing. And if you look at the headlines, you'll read that Asia is in bed with a 17-year-old boy in an inappropriate encounter. Now, of course, she claims that she did not hook up with this young kid named Jimmy Bennett.
We told you yesterday about the bombshell news that one of the most outspoken figures in the Me Too movement, actress Argento, was being accused of being a predator herself.
But as you guys will see throughout this video, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that she did in fact get with this former child star Jimmy. And of course, it's disturbing to think that this person stood out here and called out Harvey Weinstein for inappropriately acting with her, yet she did the same thing with a young boy, so she's no better than Harvey Weinstein is.
On Monday, the New York Times accused Argento of plying 17-year-old former child actor Jimmy Bennett with alcohol and having with him at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Marina del Rey, California in 2013.
So not only is she hooking up with a minor, which is disgusting, but she's also getting him drunk at the same time. Now, we actually learned about the situation when Jimmy was 22 because it all became public, and I'll explain to you guys how. But this incident took place back in 2013. One of the reasons why this story has gone so viral is because of that inappropriate picture of them in bed where they both are clearly not wearing clothing. Court documents claim that they had hung out on May 9th, 2013, where she proceeded to give him alcohol, kiss him, and push him back onto the bed where she performed orally on him and then climbed on top of him to complete it all, which is so gross because she was like, what, 32 at the time? What 30-year-old, what adult is even interested in a high school boy? It's just like, where's her mind at?
Times journalist Kim Severson received an anonymous package with court documents that alleged Bennett was 17 when he and Argento had sex in a California hotel room 5 years ago. She was 37. The legal age for consent in California is 18.
One shows he and Asia laying back in a bed. You sort of see it from the waist up, and they're both unclothed. And that was the most controversial. That was the photo.
Now, I think we can all agree that this photo is disturbing and it's bad, and it's hard for Asia to dig herself out of this scandal. But wait, there's more. There's even more evidence, and this next set of evidence is actually a bunch of text messages between Asia and one of her friends. I don't know who her friend is that leaked these, but that's someone you definitely cannot trust. And the text messages tell a very different story because at this point, Asia claims that nothing had happened. Like, don't pay attention to the photo. You know, it's not true. Yet these texts, you're pretty much admitting everything.
Some revelations this morning about Me Too activist actress Asia Argento. Argento denied a minor, but screenshots posted by TMZ seem to tell a different story.
So you'll see that Asia's text messages are in gray and their friend is in blue. We're going to go ahead and break down every one of these text messages. They don't necessarily make sense in the order of the conversation, but I wanted to collect them all and show you every piece of evidence we have in this scandal. Her friend wrote, "What's up with the photo taken in bed?" I think that's the one that'll be harder to cushion. Images are annoyingly assumption nation. Well, then Asia replied, "You can see my breast, that's all. It doesn't mean crap. He is standing up." Now they're talking about this article which initially broke the story. As in, what does the public know and not know? Like, which things are facts or not facts? It's an annoying question, but I need to have a clear vision of what angles we have to send some folks to get good intel for us. So it looks like this is some type of professional contact, maybe not really a friend, but Asia replies, "The public knows nothing, only what the New York Times wrote, which is one-sided. The shakedown letter, the kid jumped me." Wow. Well, she knows he's a kid now. And actually, she claims that she didn't know he was a minor until the shakedown letter, which is, I guess, some letter that he had sent to her trying to get a settlement, which we will get to. But her friend is asking her, like, what kind of charges can you face here? Like, is it the R word? Is it some attempted, inappropriate action taken by an adult on a minor?
To TMZ, Argento told a friend via text that she did, in fact, have sex with then 17-year-old actor Jimmy Bennett. Those texts published by TMZ go on to describe the encounter. They say, quote, "It was weird that she, quote, didn't know he was a minor until later."
Whoever this is, they're trying their best to understand the situation so they could try to protect Asia, which I'm glad they didn't ultimately protect her because they did leak these messages. She admits that she didn't know he was a minor until allegedly the shakedown letter, which I don't necessarily believe. But she replies and says, "All of Anthony's emails pushing me to accept a pay. My emails with Carrie where we disagreed with that." So what she's talking about here is the fact that Anthony Bourdain, her boyfriend at the time, was really involved with this entire situation, and they did ultimately pay off this Jimmy kid, but she's trying to frame it like it was Anthony's plan, or she was pushed to pay off this guy who she got herself in trouble with. They talk a little bit about this payment, and whoever's trying to help Asia says that they need to prove that the money came from Anthony's account or an affiliate account, so it doesn't look like she had paid him off, that Anthony had in fact paid him off. Asia then introduces the idea that maybe they can make Jimmy seem like they're extorting them, like that he's out here asking for money and creating fake stories so that he could get some income. But with this evidence, it doesn't really look like he's making up stories when they have photos together that are clearly inappropriate. Then Asia's friend is trying to formulate a plan. They want to request bank statements from Jimmy that will show that the account that deposited the money isn't from Asia, it's from someone else. They also ask Asia to find evidence that they rejected Jimmy and his encounters previously before. So they're trying to make it seem like Jimmy had tried to prey on Asia, and actually Asia in fact rejected him, and he's been kind of harassing her. Actually, they think that they can get away with trying to write off this payment as a way to stop this person from harassing Asia, opposed to Asia had done something inappropriate and now they're buying his silence. Either way, she shares that she doesn't have like evidence. It was all on Snapchat, which you guys know how I feel about Snapchat sometimes. I do have a Snapchat show though, definitely go and check it out. But the messages disappear. I didn't report because I always felt bad for this Hollywood failed child actor, a casualty of the machine of his parents. I have 80 pages on him by a PI that Anthony hired. So okay, hold up. One, she's talking so nasty about him. Like, girl, like, if you didn't have Anthony Bourdain, like, I don't know any movie that Asia's been in. Like, I haven't seen a lot of movies, so, like, I'm not a great judge, but I haven't seen anything you've been in. And then, secondly, for someone who's so innocent, like, you got a PI with 80 pages on him, digging up things on him to try to, like, what, silence him back? Like, that doesn't seem like an innocent person. She goes on to share that she's thinking about leaking the information the PI got through a trusted friend to The Guardian. Then Asia continues, if I lose my job, I'll move to Africa or the Amazon forest. I want to be among the 90% of the world that doesn't give a F about this stuff, not the conniving, sick 10% of the entitled Westerners, which really interesting how she's framing this, because the people who like gave an F about these things are the same people who were like supporting you when you were out in like Harvey Weinstein. Like, do you not see the hypocrisy here? Their friend replies that Africa is gorgeous. They probably want you to go, Asia. Africa is gorgeous and absolutely safer than what people give credit for. Then she continues, Ethiopia or Senegal or maybe in Brazil. Then she asks a little bit more about their relationship. The friend says, you worked with him previously. How did the age thing escape? So they probably met on set. Makes sense for the Hollywood industry. She continues, I mean, 16 is the age of consent in most countries around the world. So I was actually shocked about the 17 thing. Then she writes 15 in France and Italy. The friend says, oh, wow. Crazy how Asia just knows that off the top of her head. 15 in France and Italy. So maybe she's had her, her rounds there and she knows how to operate. But gross, she just that's her response. She also shares that when she was 17, she was with a 33-year-old man for years, right when she had turned 17. I don't know if she's trying to make it seem better, but just because, the age gap is swapped here doesn't mean it's right. In my opinion, it didn't seem like they were going to be able to go with extortion. So they started having another conversation, which made me really uncomfortable because they tried to make it seem like Jimmy had pounced her and he had attacked her. Her friend writes, you suffered extreme trauma. If there's any time you've talked to your therapist about inappropriate advances before, this may be helpful too. Well, I would assume that she talked to her therapist about advances because of Harvey Weinstein, but she says not before, during that meeting where he jumped me. Not sure where she's replying here, but the friend says, what's up with the photo taken in bed? And that's where we were earlier on. Asia continued with this. He wrote me this afterward and kept sending me unsolicited all these years up until 2 weeks before the attorney's letter, before he had threatened to, go after her. It wasn't our word, but I was frozen. He was on top of me after he told me I had been his fantasy since he was 12 years old. Ew. Now, there's an important piece of evidence included in that text message because I guess Asia had a note that Jimmy had written her. She, for some reason, took a photo of it and she sent it to her friend to try to make Jimmy seem like he's a stalker. So this note was written on a Ritz-Carlton stationery, which keep in mind that confirms the hotel. But the note says, Asia, I love you with all my heart. So glad we met again, and I'm so glad you're in my life, Jimmy. It's a pretty harmless letter, but it's hard to look at that letter and then look at her response and then believe her because she strongly denies all of the allegations and claims that none of this went down. She's deeply shocked and hurt by reading this news, and she never had any relationship with Jimmy. She was linked to him for several years by friendship only, but they never had done what he's claiming had happened and what these text messages kind of confirm, because she even said I didn't know he was a minor when until I got this letter. Okay, you didn't think that deeply about it. I mean, he is a child actor. You can go and Google. Plus, when you're 32, can't you just realize that there's someone you can tell when someone is half your age. It also doesn't help that they have photos on social media together, because at some point Asia posted a photo of her with Jimmy and wrote, happiest day of my life reunion with Jimmy Bennett, XOX. So I guess that day that they had at the Ritz-Carlton was one of the happiest in her life.
On that same day, Argento posted this photo to Instagram with the caption, happiest day of my life, reunion with Jimmy M. Bennett, XOX.
So as you guys know by now, Asia did eventually pay off Jimmy. And it actually turned into an assault case where they had to pay up $380,000. I say they because Asia didn't pay it. Anthony Bourdain had to pay it.
Her boyfriend, renowned TV personality Anthony Bourdain, who paid the former child actor $380,000 in hush money. There are reports Bennett was seeking $3 million.
Now, I recognize there are some roaches in Hollywood who are trying to social climb and grab onto celebrities or people with money and then extort them. It happens. It's unfortunate, but there's usually not this much evidence against someone who has done this. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then I feel like you should never pay up, because then once you go into the discovery and you start figuring out the real truth, you're going to see there's nothing there. But there's obviously something, because they paid up $380,000. He was asking for millions, but that's a little bit too much. It looks like there was $200,000 paid to Jimmy Bennett as well for copyright of the risky photo, even though it's all over the internet. And supposedly Asia did not make Jimmy sign an NDA because of the settlement, because she is outspoken towards people like Harvey Weinstein, who does force people to sign NDAs. So I guess she's trying to stay a little bit moral here, though I think they completely mischaracterized who Jimmy is. I mean, Anthony said that Jimmy's dangerous after Jimmy requested all of this money from Asia. And I'm just, I mean, it's a scary situation to be in, but also, we saw Anthony take his life after arguing with Asia about cheating. So I just wouldn't be surprised if she's a cheater and literally preyed on this Jimmy kid. At the end of the day, I think it's important to look at these movements and understand their legitimacy and who is leading them, and really critique these people and hold them to a certain standard, because Asia should not be the spokesperson really for anyone, especially if what happened with this Jimmy kid, this alleged story, is true.
She was one of the first women to come forward with accusations against Harvey Weinstein. Now, Asia Argento is facing allegations about her own conduct.
But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here's my email if you have any other video ideas for me, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.